Hello, and welcome to our series, Conversations on Zionism, Reclaiming the Narrative. I'm Russell Robinson, Chief Executive Officer of Jewish National Fund USA. The time has come to be the voice of what Zionism really is. We're exposing the beautiful and diverse facets and facts of Zionism. Join me on this journey, together with Conversations on Zionism, Reclaiming the Narrative. This is Zionism.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Jewish National Fund USA's Conversation on Zionism. I am Eric Rubin, and today we're going to be talking about the role of sports in Israel and Zionism. I'm so blessed to have three good friends with me today. Let me do some introductions. First of all, as I mentioned, I am Eric Rubin. I spend a lot of time in the nonprofit world related to Israel. I currently serve as the executive director of Together Vouch for Each Other in the US, which is an Arab-Israeli organization that seeks to bring Arab Israelis closer to the Israeli Jewish society. I also am involved with Project Max, which very coincidentally, we seek to bring Jewish sports history out to fight racism, anti-Semitism, and bring people closer together. I also serve on the board of P3 Israel and the Baltimore Zionist District. And I'm so blessed that I have with me today a couple of good friends. First of all, Tamir Goodman. Tamir was dubbed the Jewish Jordan by Sports Illustrated in 1999. He's a former professional basketball player and is a successful entrepreneur, coach, educator, and motivational speaker. Tamir is also a big believer that we can use sports to bring people together of all different faiths and backgrounds. He's hosted some of the NBA and college basketball's greatest stars in Jerusalem, and I'm honored to have him here. In addition, we have Michael Sweetney. Michael is a former professional basketball player who played in the NBA for the New York Knicks and the Chicago Bulls, as well as several teams overseas. He is currently an assistant basketball coach for the Yeshiva Maccabi men's basketball team, and he and Tamir have known each other for a very long time and even played with each other in high school. Eddy Curry is a former professional basketball player in the NBA who played for the Chicago Bulls, the New York Knicks, the Miami Heat, and the Dallas Mavericks, as well as overseas in China. And Eddy has one of those coveted championship rings when he won an NBA championship with the Miami Heat. So welcome, everyone, and thanks for joining. Tamir, I'd like to start with you. You're originally from the Baltimore, Maryland area. You've made Aliyah, and you've come to live back in Israel at home. And I'd love to hear from you. You've had such a big role, and we've done so much in basketball, but what led to you to wanting to go back home, to live in Israel, and then talk about how you've used sports to try and bring your friends, Michael, Eddy, and others closer to Israel, please.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me on the show. It's, some of my favorite people in the world are on the show with us right now. So it's good to see everybody, and thank you for joining. I was fortunate enough to grow up in Baltimore, Maryland. My grandmother basically raised me. She was a Holocaust survivor. She lived with us 6 months out of the year. And I graduated high school from predominantly African-American Christian school, but they were Seventh-day Adventists, so they didn't play basketball on Shabbat either. And then I played college basketball at Towson University, and I roomed with a Muslim basketball player and named Muhammad Fafana, who till today is one of my closest friends. So I came from this world of basketball where, I realized that basketball has a unique power to and the greatest platform in the world to bring people together. Like some of the greatest people in my life I would have never met had it not been for basketball, like Mike and Eddy. And I just felt like, how can I give this opportunity to other people that love basketball and use it as a tool to bring people together and form relationships. So ultimately I came to Israel to play professionally. I wanted to honor my grandmother, who was a Holocaust survivor. I'm so thankful that I get to live here with my wife and 5 children. But, for me, it's extra exciting to still be involved in basketball and never forget the message, what I learned at my youth, as using basketball as a tool to bring people together. And thankfully, through the camp and the programs that we have in Jerusalem and incredible people like Mike and Eddy joining us, we're able to keep that platform growing and pass it on to the next generation of using basketball as a vehicle to unite and better the world.
Tamir, could you maybe talk a little bit about your camps? I mean, I was fortunate enough to be in Jerusalem with you a few weeks ago where Ennis Freedom was there. You also had the Auburn men's basketball team. What do you try to do with the children in the camp and especially also with the players that you bring over to be part of it?
Well, on the court, we try to give the kids, world-class basketball skills. But at the same time, we try to give them life skills to empower them, teach them how to communicate, teach them how to have good resilience, healthy self-confidence, how to give, how to share, life skills. And at the same time, unite them so that they could have a good feeling about themselves and a good identity. And I think like when you feel good about who you are as a person and you have a strong identity, you're more likely to help and give back to other people, which is a big value that we share in basketball. And we do all this by uniting different cultures and people and giving them a fresh perspective of Israel. So thankfully, Mike and Eddie and Auburn basketball this summer, a lot of different basketball people and teams that have come to Israel and they get a fresh perspective of Israel at the same time, teaching the kids world-class basketball, life skills, and bettering the world and uniting people.
Great. Thank you, Tamir. So, Michael, let me turn to you. You've known Tamir a long time. My understanding is you guys played together in high school, but you come from very different, backgrounds. What was it like when you get a phone call from Tamir asking you if you'd like to come to Israel, and what was going through your mind? What were your thoughts?
It was interesting. When I first, got the opportunity to, go out there to Israel. For me, I was cool with it. I was excited. My wife, she was the nervous one because she wasn't sure because, what you see on the news about how dangerous it is and all this and all that. But for me, I was cool with it. My wife was like very scared. And when I got over there, it was just probably one of the best experiences of my life. As soon as we got the plane, Tamir took me right to the Western Wall. And, just now seeing all different religions over there praying and things like that. So it was a great experience and a great opportunity. So for me to get that phone call, it was like a blessing in disguise. It honestly changed my life in many ways.
So, Michael, just curious because, you mentioned that your wife was afraid for you going over and what she heard. And I think, unfortunately, a lot of people hear some of the negative stories or they don't feel safe. You weren't worried, but once you were there and you actually saw it, what did you tell your wife and what was your real experience being there and how did you feel?
I think one experience was, I think me and Tamir did a basketball camp. I forgot the city. It was somewhere up north. And then when we came back, it was like almost midnight. And I saw kids like playing outside in the park, like by themselves. And I asked Tamir, I was like, why are these kids there by themselves? Like, where's the parents? And Tamir's like, oh, they're probably in an apartment. I'm like, what? And I'm seeing like kids like walking to the grocery store by themselves. I'm like, so this is so-called to be a dangerous place. You're seeing kids like out in the streets by themselves, being able to do things, they feel safe. I'm like, back in the States, there's no way I'm letting my kids go to the park by themselves or walk to the grocery store by themselves. So, it's just a different perspective. And I'm just glad I actually experienced it and got to share with her. So now she's eager to get to Israel and visit and experience it for herself.
Eddie, similar question for you. I mean, what was your perception and your wife's perception about what it was going to be like in Israel when you got the phone call from Tamir to come over? And then what did you find once you got there?
Yeah, Eric, I think my wife, it was a lot like Sweet said, man. She was all over the internet. She was all over the news. I mean, she's a big news person anyway. So going to Israel, knowing that was coming, like I treated it like any other trip at first. Like, okay, this is a good experience. This will be a good time, a time for us to bond because I actually was lucky enough for her to go with me. But as we got closer, that started to kind of creep in my mind. Like, let me do a little research And man, I started to kind of scare myself, like, wait a minute, what am I getting into? But I tell you, man, that plane ride over from Miami to, and I dealt with a lot of adversity on the way there. When we had to fly from Houston to Miami, we get to Miami, the flight was canceled, so we had to stay in Miami an extra day. So I'm like, okay, this is how it's starting out. And I'm talking to Tamir, and he's like, all right, don't worry about it. It's going to be great. I'm like, okay, cool. We get on the plane, and it's like the most incredible experience I've ever seen. I didn't even know. I'm like, what is going on? Like, the people are just walking around. No one's in their seat. Everyone's walking around talking, and it's just social, and people coming up to talk to me. And I'm just like, are we going to get in trouble for like walking around and stuff? And then the most incredible thing happened. We landed, and the whole plane just erupted with just applause and just cheers. And like, I'm like, what is going on? Like, but I'm telling Tamir this, and he's like, yeah, this is what it is. Like, people are so excited to get here that's normally the response of people when they land. So for me, that was incredible. The first thing Tamir showed me was Martin Luther King Boulevard right there in front of the hotel, and I was just blown away. The fact that his name and his legacy reached that far, it truly showed me like what to expect. It truly gave me a glimpse of what I was going to kind of experience during that trip. And I tell you, man, the whole trip was just amazing. From walking around, like Sweet said, me and my wife did some late night walking. It took us a day to really say, you know what? These are some good people over here. We're gonna walk to the store. So we walked to the store, and it was dark. I don't know what time it was, but it was really late. And it was incredible. It was like nothing I've ever felt before. It was a peace and a calm and just a genuine just love that I felt in the air over there. It's really in the air. When you walk around, you can feel it.
Thank you, Eddie. Michael, I'd like to ask you, I know I've read a lot about you, and I've come to know you a little bit, I feel, and I know that you're a man of faith. Could you maybe talk about growing up in your church and your experience, and then how did it feel from a spiritual standpoint, to be in Israel? I also know that you had a chance to go to the Western Wall and pray. So can you maybe talk about spirituality and how you felt emotionally in Israel?
Yeah, so pretty much growing up, I was a church kid. I was an usher, and I was the big tall kid with the white gloves on the church. But growing up, I was, my father kept me in church every Sunday. He always told me to put God first and everything. So my faith was pretty strong. So being able to go to Israel, visit the Western Wall, and we did the tour and seeing things that I read in the Bible and being able to see it in person was like kind of like, I can't really explain the feeling. It was like a surreal feeling, like, wow, I'm really actually here. And being honest with you, all my life, I never thought I would actually have a chance to actually see that in person and see the tunnels and things like that. So to be able to see that, it's like a surreal outer body experience. So for me to actually experience that, and it was surreal. It was a great feeling. And, and also, like I said, visiting the Western Wall and going over there and praying. And I'm kind of going off script a little bit, but just, like Eddie's mentioned, like you go to the news, you see certain things that I've seen Jews and I've seen Muslims all just, maybe walking past each other praying. And you would think they have it in our minds here, but Jew and Muslim cross each other, it's going to be a bad situation. And it was all, as Eddie said, it was all love. Everybody was just all love. Everybody's happy, no bad experiences. So it was just great just to see everybody just going to their own situation, praying, and it's all love no matter what. So that was great for me too, from a faith standpoint.
Well, thank you, Michael. Eddie, I wanted to ask you, because when Tamir was introducing himself and talking about him going home to live in Israel, he mentioned family members of the Holocaust. I loved watching your wife Patrice's video of your experience. I know that you went to Yad Vashem. I was just wondering, as an American, as an African American, can you maybe talk about your experience, what you saw at Yad Vashem, how you felt, and did it help give you any sort of deeper connection or understanding of the importance of Israel in the world today?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we pull up and it's just like, the first thing I saw was a scripture on the wall that I saw in the Bible, and I'm like, okay, that's interesting. Like we're tied right there, and then we go inside, and it's just the most emotional. It was definitely the most emotional experience that I've ever had. I didn't know how to feel. I felt sorrow. I felt ashamed of just what humanity would do to people. And I also felt, like you said, I felt closer to Tamir, man, because all of this time I'm kind of going through as this black man in America. I deal with my own things. I deal with just not feeling confident, not knowing where I belong, not being able to trace my history back, and just knowing that the horrible things that my people have been through, and to see what Jewish people were going through, man, it was mind-boggling that something like that can go on in our world. And then Tamir was letting us know that his grandmother, he would tell us different tales about his grandmother. He told us that that her name was in there. I remember going in there looking for her name, and my wife was crying and stuff. It was just a really humbling, really, really like sorrow-filled experience. But at the same time, I feel like it definitely brought us closer, because I felt like this is somebody that understands. He understands my pain. He understands what we've been going through. And now I spend my time trying to understand what he's going through and understand what his people have gone through, because it's so similar. It's so similar. It's scary, and it's a shame that that much pain could be caused to a group of people, man, in this country that we live in. And it's crazy. It's really crazy.
Yeah, no, Eddie, thanks for sharing that, kind of, personal experience. I grew up in an era where at the civil rights movement, Jews in the United States were so close to Martin Luther King and many of the historical figures, and we marched together and we supported each other. So it's great to hear that you felt that we had a shared history as far as some of the things we've suffered. Tamir, I'd like to come back to you and maybe can you talk a little bit about what's it like for these children to have Michael and Eddie in camp? And what is their reaction? And then also as a bystander watching Eddie and Michael, interact with the kids. Could you describe that for us a little bit, please?
It's almost indescribable because, most of the kids here, for them to watch an NBA game, they have to wait up till 3 o'clock in the morning because the time difference, and it's, a 12-hour flight just to get to the East Coast. So, anything that has to do with the NBA is like a dream for them, a far out dream, it almost feels like. And then when Eddie and Mike come over and they get to learn from them on the court, but then also learn from them as people and realize how special they are as human beings, it's something that changes the kids' lives forever, because not only do they get to meet a hero, but they actually become friends and friendly with their heroes. And the impact that has on them emotionally is something that will positively impact them forever. These guys are the nicest guys you'll ever meet. I just remember Mike arriving to camp early every single day, even before any kid came, and just giving that example of how much he wanted to be there for them and give his heart and all the basketball knowledge he had to them. And one time this summer, Eddie walking back to the hotel in his socks because he had autographed his shoes for one of the kids and left the shoes in the gym, and he walked back. And there's no doubt in my mind that the kids will remember these experiences for the rest of their life, and I'm forever grateful to them for that.
Michael, I'd like to switch gears a little bit. Eddie mentioned, being at Yad Vashem and understanding a little bit more about Tamir's family history and the history of many Jews around the world. So now you're an assistant coach at Yeshiva University. I think you were also the first African-American coach at Yeshiva University. Can you maybe talk about how your experience in Israel, being with Tamir, praying at the Western Wall, Yad Vashem, how it helped you understand the Jewish faith, and was that helpful for you in being a coach at Yeshiva? And describe your interaction with the players and the camaraderie, please.
It's a good question, actually. So piggyback, that job actually came from Israel. I was actually in Israel with Tamir, and Tamir, pretty much ran it past, like, hey, would you ever think about coaching at Yeshiva University? And I remember getting in contact with Elliot Steinmetz. We kind of hit it off right then and there, and then I met with him. And when I went back to New York, I met with Elliot, star player Ryan Terrell, and the star player Gabe Leifer. I met with them right away. It was just love off the bat, straight. We talked about basketball, talked about life. And for me, to be honest with you, the conversations when it first was, it wasn't like, okay, you're you're different from me. Then how was it? It was just like, all right. It was like we mentioned, like sports bring everybody together. So we just it was just straight love, and just being around those guys and see how they work hard for each other. And this is not bashing none of my teams ever played on, but I've never been, Eddie probably can understand this too to an extent. I've never been around a group of guys where 1 through 12 guys are rooting for each other. If one guy's not playing, he's not mad. He's the guy that's cheering for he's cheering for guys. He's happy for them. He's still working hard in practice. Like, I've been around a lot of basketball, and that's kind of rare to see. And that's how these group of guys were. And I also think it's obviously from, certain values growing up, probably transferred over, but just being around that type of atmosphere, and then me, having my experiences, what I've, been through and not been through, just kind of teach them life skills and basketball skills while at it. I learned from them just much as they learned from me. So for me, it was a great experience.
Well, that's amazing. You go to Israel and you come back coaching Yeshiva University. So wonderful things do happen over in Israel. So thank you. And thank you, Tamir, for that connection.
I'm Zoe, and I'm from Dream Israel, an incredible teen travel initiative at Jewish National Fund USA. Let me tell you what Dream Israel is. Through this initiative, any high school student can receive a grant of up to $7,500 to put towards their study abroad program in Israel with one of Jewish National Fund USA's academic partners. How do you earn this grant? All you need to do is fundraise for a Jewish National Fund USA philanthropic project in Israel.
Without this Dream Israel grant, I would not be able to be here in Israel.
Thank you, Dream Israel.
Thank you, Dream Israel.
Thank you, Dream Israel, for making my dreams come true.
Take the trip of your dreams with Dream Israel and Jewish National Fund USA.
Eddie, Tamir mentioned it, and I saw it in the video, you walking around the streets of Jerusalem without your shoes on. So can you maybe, how did that happen? But more importantly, how did you feel interacting with the kids and the camp, and how successful do you think it was?
Yeah, so I just felt like I wanted to leave them something. A lot of the kids got my phone number. I still talk to a lot of them to this day. My boy Isaac, one of the most special kids I've ever seen, man. Like, his personality. It's a kid named Isaac, man, and I appreciate him and every other kid at the camp. But yeah, I ended up I gave away pretty much everything I had on me. Gave away my number, and somebody asked for the shoes, so I'm like, I'll give you the shoes, but I give one to one person and one to another person, because it's kind of not fair if I give one person just both pairs. Just give one person both shoes. So yeah, that was just a natural thing for me. Just me wanting to leave them with something. I can remember being a kid going to those type of camps and having not so good experiences, having to deal with pros or ex-professionals coming in who really didn't want to be there, and I really felt that. So I think to be able to try to, I just really wanted to give them a part of me, and I hope I was able to do that. I hope that they grow up and have a really good experience and treat somebody the same way that I tried to treat them.
Michael, it sounded like you had a wonderful trip, a wonderful experience. Do you mind commenting a little bit as an African-American, how you felt in Israel? Did you feel any sort of, discrimination or any sort of hatred, or how did the people embrace you?
Actually, no. I think people just saw me honestly as a human being. I don't think, it was just, I'm sure they obviously I looked there for me, but I was never treated any type of way. Like, they treated me just like they would treat Tamir. It was just straight love. They asked basketball questions. And then, I remember Eddie mentioned about, walking at night. I know, because it took some time to adjust to the time difference. I know it was times like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm just walking around the streets. I couldn't sleep. So I was just taking walks, and people waved. They probably know who I was. They just saying hello, stop and ask something good. Or, I've seen police ride past and nobody stopped me. So it was a cool experience, man. Like, everybody just showed love. And it was just like one of those trips that I would never forget.
Hey, Michael, nobody gets treated like Tamir Goodman in Israel. I tell you that. Nobody gets treated like Tamir Goodman in Israel. We can't compare ourselves to Tamir, baby.
That's true. So Michael, I know that your wife was worried about you going over before the trip. When you got back and spoke to her, how did she feel? And is she interested in going at all, or any of your other family?
Oh, she's definitely jealous. She's definitely jealous once I told her about the experiences. And, I was on the phone with her sometimes, and I was actually walking, at that time of morning. She's like, "You walking?" And so, like, her main, just sharing her about the, obviously the food and just so many different experiences I had over there. She's like very, very jealous and can't wait to get back. So hopefully soon we can make it happen. But it's one of those trips that, I just want my family to experience that. So Ellie, I'm kind of jealous of you, man, that you got to experience it, man.
So
Eric,
Eddie,
like, we're all we all feel so like one big family. Like when I see Eddie posting something about his kids or someone in his family has a birthday, or same thing with Mike, like I feel like my own kids have a birthday that day, or they had some type of accomplishment or anything. Like we're like one big family. I love them so much, and their extended families, just because of all this. Like it's very special, and I'm so thankful that they came over.
Well, that's great, Tamir. Thanks for saying that, because I guess, Eddie, Patrice was there. You were there with your wife. Grew up in America. Do you notice a difference in the people in Israel versus how either how friendly they are or welcoming? Could you talk about that a little bit, please?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a big difference. Of course, growing up here in America, for me personally, I've always been kind of like the standout. And even if people didn't know my name, they knew I was very tall, so odds are I probably played basketball. So that doesn't always equate to somebody treating you nice, though. Sometimes people treat me like an object, or just treat me like a big guy. Hey, how's the weather up there? I never once got a how's the weather up there. Like, people have no idea how annoying that can be for just a random person that I've never met in a grocery store to just walk, hey, how's the weather? And blah, 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 just thinking they're funny. Like, if I was to crack a joke on their outside appearance, they probably wouldn't like it. I never got that over there, never, not one time. And I know for a fact I was probably the tallest guy in Israel at that time when I was there, for sure. That alone, man, just that feeling of, like I said, the first day I was kind of reserved. I didn't know what to really expect. But after that, I mean, I was all in, man. I was all in. I felt like I belonged. I felt like I was in a place that accepted me for who I am. 7-foot black male. Nobody knew or questioned what religion I was. Like, nobody. It was different. I grew up in a hard neighborhood where you had to belong to someone, and if you didn't belong to someone, you can get beat up. It was not that feeling at all.
If you could leave your family, your friends, people watching this with one thought about Israel and how you felt and what it meant, or, what would your message be to others watching that maybe like you didn't know what to expect or might have been a little worried?
My message would be simple. It would be to try to get over there. Because I know for me personally, it's certain things that pictures and videos just won't capture. I think that you need to go over there and breathe the air. You need to touch the wall. You need to pray. You need to feel how close you'll feel to God. And I don't care what religion you are. It's just a certain vibe that's over there. It's a certain that you can feel the spiritualness in the air. I don't even know if that's a word, but you can feel it in the air as you're walking around. You can feel it on the people. You can feel it in all of the food that you eat and the fruit that you eat. It's just, everything is so clean and it's just kind of perfect over there. I'm sorry. I don't know if they was putting on, like, maybe everybody was putting on their best because I was there, but I know that wasn't the case because nobody even cared. Everyone was focused on what they were doing. Everyone, I remember Tamir showing us, like, hey, if you want to cross the street, just put your foot on the street and then they got to stop. It was a couple times I tried it, like, let me see if this really works. And I'm telling you, it works. I'm like, I put my foot in the street and it stopped. If you do that over here, you're gonna be missing a foot, man. So I think it's very cool. I think that I personally moved my family halfway across the country because my mom did not want to travel to California from Chicago. She thought the flight was too far. The minute I got back, my mom was like, I want to go to Israel. I'm like, Mom, you wouldn't even go to California, but you want to go to Israel? She's like, I always wanted to go to Israel. I'm like, I didn't even know. I had no idea that was a destination that my mother would have wanted to go. So, like, now it's become my mission to get my family to Israel. If only for a day, I would love. I don't care about the long flight. I don't care about the lines in the airport. If I can get my family to Israel for one day, man, just so they can experience that. Because I know for me, it just gave me a whole different appreciation. And I've always been close to God. I've always been really humble and really just appreciative of everything that I've gotten, everything that I've gone through, good or bad, because it's a lesson in everything. But if I can get my family over there, I know that they will feel a little piece of what I felt when I was there.
That's amazing. Michael, same to you. What, as you reflect back on your trip, what are your personal thoughts? What would your message be to, Americans, African Americans, anyone around the world about visiting and what it meant to you?
I just want to pick back off Eddie. You got to get over there and experience it, because, like I said, our words and pictures can't describe it. just how great it was over there. Like I said, the food, the love. And I just think right now, just the, not going off topic, but just the, the world we living in with all this hate and stuff that's going on. And some of the mentality that people had over there, I just wish we had that back here in the States, man, where people just kind of just go about the flow, show love, and it's just a cool vibe. And I just wish we had that here, because right now in the States, there's just so much hatred, and disagreements and all this stuff. So I just wish we had that here. And I wish we can take note of that. But for me, Eddie, I just want to hopefully get my family there so they can experience what I experienced, because words can't express. And I hope that, at some point, people get over there that haven't been to just experience it, because even if it's for 24 hours, man. Because my pastor, I try to get him to connect with Tamir. He went over there last summer. And, he went over for the first time. And I think he's been back 3 times.
Wow.
Within a year and a half, because he just couldn't get enough of it. So that just goes to show the type of place. And he's been on a lot of different vacations. And that one, him and a group of guys, they've been back, I think, a total of 4 times in a year and a half. So, that just says a lot about the type of place it is.
Well, that's great. So, Tamir, we kind of started with you. I'd like to come back to you because you made Aliyah, you've been home, you've been running these camps. As you reflect back, do you believe it's making a difference in the world, and where would you like to see this go, moving forward?
Yeah, I know it is, because I ran my first cultural diversity camp in 2007. And from that camp, some of the kids went on to play professionally. Every kid went like a total different direction, and they're from all different backgrounds. But one thing's for sure, they're all still close friends till today. And if it wasn't for the camp, they would have never met. So I know that it's working. And, partnering with guys like Eddie and Mike and Eric, and, just trying to continue to do as many good things as possible. That's our mission in this world. That's why God gave us basketball. So I just want to keep going as far as possible and reach as many kids as possible. And again, I could never have done it without you guys. So I love you guys so much. And I thank you for everything.
Well, I want to thank all 3 of you. Tamir, you do amazing things, bringing people together. I do believe that sports and particularly basketball can be a great uniter. There's a lot that divides us, but I think that when we do get together, we spend time together, we can make a difference, and we can bridge a lot of cultural gaps. Eddie and Mike, I'd like to thank you for not only taking the time, but for being open-minded and making the trip to Israel. And I know that not only me and Tamir, but the whole country would like to welcome you back with open arms and make it a lot longer than a 24-hour trip. I know you guys spend time there, but it's a very diverse country, as you guys have noticed, from the north to the south, the east to west. It's only about the size of New Jersey, but there's so much history that's from there. There's so much religion that's based and founded in the Holy Land. And I'm glad you guys got to experience. And again, I'd like to thank all of you for all of you do to bring people together, to unite us. I'd like to thank you for sharing your experiences about Israel. And I hope we will not only see you there again, but hopefully be back once again at the Jewish National Fund USA's Conversation on Zionism. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for being a part of this. God bless you, and look forward to seeing you in Israel sometime soon. Have a great day.
To watch this and all of our past episodes, go to ZTV, our Zionism Studios YouTube page, and subscribe to get notifications.